Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Core Class BoulderCrash. Let me know think of this figure in the comment section down below. Is it a pickup or a pass? Now let's take a look at the figure's packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front, we have Transformers on the side. We have Infernac Universe BoulderCrash in white text with a Legacy United logo right above, with a really nice open window displaying the figure in the packaging. At the top of the box, we have another Legacy United logo with a really cool image or artwork shot of BoulderCrash in his rock motorcycle alt mode. And that same image here posted on the side of the box, really just kind of a close-up version of that one with core class in several different languages. And if we do look at the back of the box, the figure transforms in 10 steps. There's a product shot of him in his alt mode, his robot mode, and his weapon mode. As for the final side here, we have half of the Legacy United artwork. So if you do get another core class from this Legacy United line, such as Tasmanian Kid or Megatron, you can put both boxes together and complete the artwork. And that is pretty much it for the packaging. So let's now get into the review. So here we have BoulderCrash in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very top with the head sculpt. I do like the really nice mismatched design with the smaller spike and the bigger spike and the really cool kind of triangular oval shape of the head with the really nice dark red for the visor and the metallic pink for the entire mouth or mouth guard. I do have to say the arms and the shoulders are probably my least favorite part of the design and the appearance of the robot mode because they're quite boring and bland. Considering if you do look at the legs, there is a ton of rock work, tons of magma everywhere, and even the chest. So maybe it was budgets, I really don't know, but I think maybe just a few more kind of rocks or like spikes here and there would have made it a bit more interesting, because it kind of looks like Hasbro forgot the arms and just, you know, moved straight to the legs, because they do seem rather plain, especially for a character like this, a rock creature. So definitely was expecting more there, but I do like the chest with all the rock work. I love the shade of red they use. It's kind of an interesting kind of light shade of like red and pink mixture, and there's a bit of a darker red for certain areas like the forearms and the legs. I love all the magma kind of lava flowing through the figure, and there's some more at the front of the legs there. Probably my favorite part of the remote is the legs, because there is just so much amazing pebble and magma rock work there. And I actually do like the wheels, how they're kind of on the sides of the legs there. I think that looks really, really cool. And if we do look at that side profile there, overall not looking too bad. He does have a bit of kibble. You do have to, you do have to realize it's a core class, so it won't be perfect. There will be some kibble. There is a bit of hollowness in the back of the arms and the legs. I typically do lower my expectations because, they're like, what, $10 or $12, but I think for that price, it's a very solid figure. But now for articulation, the arms can move out and in, forward and back. There is a bicep rotation and an elbow bend. As for the head sculpt, you can look down and up. It can tilt side to side and look left to right on a really tight ball joint. As for the waist, it is a bit hard to access and use because this entire kind of, peg or sort of huge post section back here, it is quite large. It's mostly due to transformation, and technically you can rotate the entire waist around, but as you can see, it's pretty hard to because this very tight space. But I would say the easiest way to use the waist is somewhat just rotate it back and forth, because if you want to use it all around, it takes a bit of work. So you can move it, pretty freely a good percentage of the way, but once you get to this section here, you do have to do a bit of work to actually rotate the whole waist. But as for the legs, they can kick forward, they can kick back, out to the side. There is rotation at the top of the leg and at the top of the knee. There is also a knee bend to a very good degree, and unfortunately there is nothing out of the foot. Now let me just quickly straighten up the figure, and then we can move on to his one accessory or weapon. So as for accessories, actually a really good one. He has this huge, massive blade, and on that topic, I do think it is way too large and big for a figure at this size. I do like the weapon. I think it's very well detailed. It does match his design and deco. I think that's really cool, and it incorporates in a very cool way. I just think it's way out of proportion for this size of figure. I think this would be probably better for like a deluxe. That would make more sense, but you can attach attach or store this in two different ways. So how the instructions in the box show it actually show him putting it on top of his hand with this post and that port inside his hand. I actually like to do a bit of like the underhand style where you actually have him hold it underneath his hand. I just think it looks cooler. Yes, of course, from the front perspective, it doesn't look that good, but if you actually do angle the hand out from this view, I actually think that looks really, really cool. But that is it for accessories. Now, starting off our comparisons here, we have the Core Class BoulderCrash compared alongside the Deluxe Class Magnus, two really cool rock creatures or armorizers, and I'm really looking forward to getting some more. And that is pretty much it for that comparison. Now for one final one, here he is with the Deluxe Class Rescue Bot Chase. And that is it for comparisons. Let's now get down to transformation. So now for transformation, what you're going to do is go to the chest. You're going to grab this entire panel here and flip this up to pretty much cover the Robo Mode head or face. You can then go to the back. You're going to grab this entire backpack section here and hinge this up on this really tight hinge. And this is just going to kind of go over the entire Robo Mode head and kind of conceal it like that. You can then grab the shoulder, hinge this entire section back, and how this is tabbed into place is there's a tab right there and a small slot pretty much where the chest is. Do the same thing with the other shoulder, just disconnect it like that. And this entire top wheel section is on a swivel, so you're going to rotate this entire section around. And if you're wondering, how do I know or make sure this is in the correct position or configuration? So of course, before the Robo Mode head was facing towards you, now you need to make sure the head is facing away from you and the wheel is now pointing towards you like it is right now. Then what you can do is actually go to the waist. This part can be a bit fiddly. I really wish they would have actually allowed a bit more clearance or actually allowed this entire kind of pole piece to move out of the way. But what you're going to do is rotate at the waist. You kind of just need to push the legs through this very tight crevice or space. As you can see, it's a bit fiddly, a bit messy, but once you got it, of course, there you go. And it's not, I would say, challenging, just a bit fiddly and kind of annoying, so a little extra clearance would have been nice. But then what you're going to do is grab the entire leg, use that knee bend, and hinge this entire section up. There is a slot on the inside and a tab pretty much where the foot is, and that will just tab into place like that. Same step with the other one, just tab this entire section in like so. You can then grab the shoulder and arm. There is a tab right there and a slot pretty much on the back side of the forearm, and that will just tab into place. Same thing with the other one, just tab that into place. And that is it for transformation. But as you can see, the motorcycle is definitely incomplete, and that's where the accessory comes into play. So you're going to bring out the accessory right here, and there's a bit of transformation with this. You're actually going to grab the entire blade and hinge this all the way back pretty much as far as you can, and there is two slots right there and two tabs right there, so that will just line up all nice and securely and tab into place like so. And this tab right here, there's really no corresponding slot. It pretty much just fits in that crevice in between the two forearms. So that will just kind of slide into place right there. And that is it for transformation. Let's now take a look at the details. So here we have BoulderCrash in his motorcycle alt mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very front. Do you like that small little front brown wheel with the really nice bronze piston or pipe detailing on this side, and there's some more repeated on the other side? Did you like the mismatched design with the really cool longer spike and the smaller one? You could probably create a pretty cool backstory, like maybe this one's smaller because he was damaged in battle and it kind of broke or chipped off. And I have to say, if you did watch the section of the review of the Robo Mode, I did say I was very impressed with the rock work, and I am more impressed in this one. I think it looks so cool. It just kind of integrates into the motorcycle so seamlessly and just looks so cool, and I cannot wait for another one of these Armorizer figures, and hopefully Legacy United Wave 2 and more in Wave 3. But overall, the side looks pretty cool. Of course, you do have two back wheels, pretty much the same design as the front, really just slightly bigger, and I'm pretty sure all three wheels are mushroom peg in case you're wondering. I think it does roll pretty well across the surface, and I just love this entire back kind of spike spike or fin section, you can really say whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be like a spike or a blade, or if you want it to be kind of like a race car fin, that's perfectly fine. And if you did watch the transformation, that is actually a part of the accessory, and this is actually one very impressive aspect of part of this core class. I guess you probably could consider it parts forming. If you don't like parts forming, of course, you might not like this figure. Parts forming has never bothered me, so of course this is no exception. I actually like it. It's pretty cool because it integrates and attaches to the figure so seamlessly you can barely even tell it is a removable piece. I mean, if you look at it right now, you might actually think this is just one solid piece. It is a part of the figure. You cannot remove it. And I think it works very well in this mode. I do love the glossy red. I do have a complaint with this section right here because you actually can see the hands, the robot mode hands there. So maybe an extra panel would have been nice to cover those up, or maybe we could have actually had them rotate like at the biceps so you would just see like the outside of the palm and not actually the open hand. Probably would have been a better idea. And speaking of complaints, I do have a complaint with the back section. I think it's way too smooth and kind of neat. There is a bit of a reason why these are actually the bottom of the feet, or the feet themselves from the remote. So he does have to have, you know, a flat surface to stand on, or you won't be able to really pose or stand the figure up. That makes sense, but I actually had a bit of an idea. This could be maybe asking a bit too much of a core class. Typically, you do have to lower your expectations because the budget, of course, and the actual price of the figure is much lower than others, but I think it would have been cool maybe if they had put some other extra panels pretty much on the inside of the legs in the robot mode, but for this mode you could actually kind of flip them out, and those panels could have like some rock detailing so this wouldn't look so smooth, because in both modes his legs are pretty much hollow, so I think there'd be a perfect amount of room to put some small panels in there, and for this mode you could kind of flip them up and have some more rock detailing. I think that would have been a good idea, because from certain angles and views it looks a bit odd of how smooth it is, considering for especially these type of characters, these armorizers, you know, they're rock, you know, alien creatures. They're not supposed to be smooth. They're supposed to be very bumpy, tons of spikes, you know, tons of gaps and crevices. So it does look a bit odd, especially on this concept or this character. I also don't like the posts here. That's kind of a whole other thing that mostly comes into play later for his bonus mode, which I'll show off and mention in just a sec. I think they really could have just added like a small hinge, you know, and just kind of drop that down to sort of fit in between those two spaces there, because that looks a bit odd with that huge post sticking out. But probably I'm bothered by the smooth feet rather than the actual post. That's just my opinion anyway, but overall a very impressive motorcycle alt mode. So now for his sort of third bonus mode, it's a very simple transformation. It actually does involve his accessory. So what you're going to want to do is grab this entire fin piece, hinge this entire section forward until it actually clicks or tabs into place, and there is the transformation. That's it. It's a very simple process, as I said. And that is what this post is for. If you're wondering why is that there, why is it just sticking out the back, well, that is why it's there. And I understand, of course, they have to put the post somewhere because he turns into a weapon, but I'm just going to say what I said before. If they had just kind of folded this up a bit more for the motorcycle, I think that would have been nice, because it also would have added an extra step for the transformation from the motorcycle to this mode. It would have given a bit more steps and more something to do for the transformation. But here is the weapon mode. I think it's okay. I understand what Hasbro was going for, but one major problem I see is you're going to have a figure with like really tight joints or ratchets to actually hold this weapon or figure up, because it is quite massive. You know, it's not a small core class and not a small weapon. So definitely if you're trying to do some poses or pictures with this weapon, choose a figure with some really good joints or ratchets, because otherwise it will probably weigh the arm down a lot. But that is pretty much it for the third bonus mode. I really don't have much to say, but I'm just going to flip that back. Let's actually now get into some alt mode comparisons. So here he is with another armorizer, that being Magnus, and I think they look really cool side by side. And I think overall the start to the armorizers has been really good, and I'm really looking forward to the new ones. I'm assuming that are going to be coming soon. I have to say they'll probably make some more. I hope they'll make some more in Legacy United Wave 2 and 3. And I'm really interested in what designs or kind of alt modes they transform into. I'm really looking forward to that, but that is it for that comparison. So now for one final one, here he is with the Deluxe Class Chase. And that is pretty much it for comparisons and this alt mode. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So now for reverse transformation, what you want to do is grab this entire blade or fin piece and hinge this entire section forward until it clicks into place like so. You can then remove the entire roof or accessory from the figure, and how you do that is just wiggle this entire section up, kind of get your nail in there and just make sure there's a bit of a gap and just kind of wiggle this piece off like so. And how this was attached or connected to the figure is there is 2 slots there and corresponding tabs pretty much at this front wheel section right there. And then what you can do is disconnect the leg from this entire kind of pipe or pole piece. Same with the other one, and how this is tabbed into place is there is a tab right there and a slot on the inside of this piece or square section. And then you can fully extend and kind of drop down the legs. Just make sure they're facing straight up and down, not bent or anything. You can then grab the entire arm and shoulder and hinge this section out. Do not tab it in place just yet. Just kind of hinge them out away from this pole section. And how these were secured is there is a slot pretty much on the back side of the form and tabs right here. And then what you can do is grab this entire top wheel section, rotate this all the way around, and then you can grab this small panel here and hinge this down. It's on a very tight hinge. Just drop that down right there. And the same with this entire wheel piece on a very tight hinge as well. Just drop this all the way down to pretty much form the backpack of the robot mode. And then you can go to the shoulders. There's a tab right there and a slot pretty much on the chest, and that's just going to tab into place. Same with the other one, just tab that into place. And this area right here, this step, as I've mentioned before with the original transformation, is a bit fiddly. You just kind of cram the legs through that small little space until, of course, they're now at the proper position or configuration. And let me just quickly straighten up the figure. But that is pretty much it for reverse transformation. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Now for my final thoughts on the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Core Class BoulderCrash. Starting in the remote, I love BoulderCrash's design with the amazing sculpted rockwork and painted magma or lava flowing throughout the figure. I have to say I would love to see this design used again on a bigger class figure. Accessory-wise, BoulderCrash includes one rock blade, which is very well painted and detailed, but way too big for a figure this size. Articulation is overall pretty typical for a core class, and all the joints are fairly tight. Transformation is surprisingly complex and involving for a core class. As for BoulderCrash's rock motorcycle alt mode, I like the big rock wheels and the magma spread all over the vehicle. How the accessory incorporates into the motorcycle is cool. It basically becomes the roof of the alt mode, and you can barely even tell if it used to be a separate piece. What do you think of this figure? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you next time.